Hello, fellow refiners. This is Tony here from Refinement Not Retirement, the podcast, as you know, where we, instead of talking about retiring, we prefer to talk about refining, constantly making little improvements to one's life. So Christine is not with me today because she's suffering from the dreaded lurgy. So I thought I'd come on to talk about another gadget. You've heard about my Japanese toilet. You know about my love of gadgets. If you haven't listened to the Japanese toilet episode, do give it a check out. So I'm going to be talking about another gadget that I found very, very helpful. And I'm pleased to share it with you. But before doing so, I want to make the usual proffer and say that not the company that makes the device I'm going to talk about doesn't give us anything, incentivize us in any way. This is just us giving credit where credit is due. And you will find that sometimes I give reviews that are negative as well as positive, and I want to feel that I'm completely free and independent to go either way. So today I'm going to talk to you about a robo vacuum cleaner, Robovac. I used to have negative views of these things and thought that they were just for lazy people and that they didn't do a very good job just haphazardly bumping around the house, bumping into furniture and not necessarily being very thorough. But my mind has been changed. I got an offer from an absolutely unbelievable offer, really, from Amazon. And I was drawn to this particular Robovac. Let me tell you which one it is. It's the Eufy X8 Hybrid with laser navigation. And that's the reason why I was drawn to it, because it had LIDAR to guide it. And I'd heard about this in connection with self-driving cars, which is another subject that I'm very, very interested in. And I know how clever LIDAR is, how much it improves the self-driving capability of a car. Unlike Teslas, I've now owned 3 Teslas, and their self-driving capability is frankly pathetic and rather, in my opinion, dangerous. But there is a company you may have heard of called Waymo that specializes in self-driving taxis, and they're running their service in San Francisco and now I believe also in Phoenix. And you can see, just go on the internet, the company's called Waymo, W-A-Y-M-O, and you can see videos of how these LIDAR guided, they also use cameras as well and other technology to find their way around, but how they actually go and pick customers up, take them safely to their destination, drop them off, and go on their merry way. And it's sort of quite spooky to watch it actually happening. But this is clearly going to be the future. So I thought, well, if this vacuum cleaner is laser guided in this way, it's probably going to be a lot better. And I wasn't wrong. I must admit that the price that I was offered on this thing, because I've been doing some research, and the price that I was offered by Amazon was an offer I couldn't refuse. I'm not going to talk in great detail about the Eufy X8 Hybrid Robovac here because there are so many great reviews online about it. So I just really wanted to talk to you, share with you my experience with it, our experience with it, because we're both delighted with it. As often happens in these cases, Christine was against the idea and thought I was nuts when this thing arrived. I didn't tell her I'd ordered it. Like that's usually the way I go. Just wait and see how she reacts. And she thought I was nuts in the beginning, but now she sees the value of it. The thing is, let's face it, hoovering a home is dull. And when things are dull, you don't tend to do them consistently very, very well because you're just bored out of your mind. Well, of course, a robot doesn't suffer from that preciousness. So it will, clean your house as much as you want and it'll never get bored. and it'll do a jolly good job. The other thing that I liked about it is, and I didn't know about this until we actually got it, is that it has over-the-air updates, rather like a Tesla does. So they actually improve the functionality of the Robovac device by software updates that come periodically. And this device, since we've had it, which is now, it must be going on a year now, this device has been improved substantially. The mapping function particularly is one thing that springs to mind, because now it maps each floor very quickly, whereas before it used to clean and map at the same time, which they obviously found was not the most efficient way. But let me tell you about, to give you an idea, a particular improvement they made, which seemed a very personal one, because we have these rather nice lounge tables with legs that are curved, chrome legs, or stainless steel legs that are curved. And what the device would do, I don't want to be rude here, but it would actually sort of mount the table legs and keep trying to mount them. As I say, which looked a bit rude. And it wouldn't be able to free itself. It would eventually get stuck. And you'd get this notification on your phone saying your Robovac's stuck. It needs help. And I contacted the company because I thought maybe I'd have to put some kind of barrier in the way to block it from accessing these table legs, which would have been a pain because we've got quite a few of them. But they said, "Oh no, send us a picture of the table legs and what it's doing." So I did that and sent a little video of how the device kept mounting these legs and couldn't get free. And the next thing I knew, they'd done a general firmware update, and suddenly the device was able to get free. Because it is actually very impressive the way, if you watch it at work, it does sometimes get into areas and it's having difficulty extricating itself from the situation, but it always does. It finds a way because it's so maneuverable and powerful that it finds a way out and does it. But with these legs, it wasn't doing it because it kept thinking it could go forward and it would get trapped in a little sort of V where the curve of the table leg came to an end. So here they actually did a software update that, and since that software update, it hasn't had this problem at all. So that was very, very impressive. The sensors on it are brilliant. It will, like all Robovacs, it will never fall downstairs, which was something I was concerned about, but it never falls downstairs. And this one has multi-floor capability, so it can store maps of, I think, up to maybe 5 floors. We've only got 2. I think that is true of most houses. But it will do apparently up to 5, I think. So it won't, of course, climb up the stairs and climb down. Robovacs can't yet do that, but it will. You just essentially take it to the different floor, take the device and also its base station to the different floor, and then move it to that floor's map in your phone, and then it knows exactly what it's got to do and where to go. Always comes back to its home base and recharges it when it needs to. If it doesn't have sufficient charge, there's an auto return feature, so you can get it to actually return to its base to charge when it's halfway through or 2/3 of the way through a clean. And then it will remember what it's done. It will remember where it finished. It will go back to that spot and continue its clean, which I think is a brilliant thing. You can put no-go zones in there if there are areas you don't want it to go to. You can put virtual barriers in there. So instead of having to do it physically, like you used to have to do with these things, you can actually do it on your phone and draw these lines or zones on the map. There's so much about it I could talk about, and I'm not going to do that. But I have just found that having this device is just brilliant in terms of keeping the floors just spotlessly clean, because of course you can send this thing out as often as you like. You can schedule it to do it at night or when you're out, or you can go out and leave it and feel quite happy about that. You do have to empty it regularly because it only has a little uh, container which collects all the stuff it gets up, and it does get a lot of stuff up. Amazing the amount of stuff it gets up. And then you realize that really floors do need to be very, very regularly vacuumed. And I actually, because that container is quite small, you do need to I actually do it every time it cleans one floor. I actually not vacuum it, I empty the receptacle out. There is a little brush for you to brush off the filter. I actually find it better to wash it, because otherwise when you're brushing, the stuff gets in the air and then it gets in your lungs, and you don't do such a great job with a brush as you do with water. So I wash it, and then I leave it in the airing cupboard to dry, and that only takes a few hours, and then you're good to go again. So I think that's the best way of doing that. You can get them an upgraded version of the one we've got. You can get one where they self-empty, which means that when they go back to the base, it does a terrific suck out job. But all that means is the stuff goes into the base, which has a bigger receptacle, but that you're going to have to clean that, obviously, just less often. So I find it's actually better to forget all that, because that would be a bigger cleaning job than just the cassette that is in the machine. So I didn't go for that option, and I'm glad that I didn't. So what I do want to say is the company Eufy has great support. They've been, as I told you with the coffee leg thing, they've been really, really good. There's a guy there particularly called Shane I want to give a big shout out to, because he's been very supportive, continues to be very supportive. And good on you, Shane. Thank you very much for everything you've done. I don't really have anything negative to say about the machine, other than the same complaint that I make about electric cars, and that is the battery range, if you like. Don't get range anxiety with Robovacs, but you do with cars. The advertised battery time, running time, that's the way to look at it rather than range. The running time is a lot less than advertised, because like with cars, they do it on a sort of unrealistic basis, and then they tell you it will go for 115 minutes when really, in reality, it'll only go for 90 to 100. But that's not been a problem, because I've learned how to get the best out of the device. So for instance, I use a function called room cleaning rather than doing the whole floor. It doesn't mean you only have to do one room. You can select the rooms, the highest traffic rooms are the ones that need hoovering the most for obvious reasons. So that's what I tend to do, and I only do the whole floor, less frequently. But yeah, I mean, gosh, there are so many features and options that you can use through your phone, that you just have a lot of fun just learning how to use this device, and just watching it do its stuff, because it's so clever the way it navigates around the house, and does a really, really thorough job. So that's my review of this little life refinement, which has been, I think, terrific, and we use it all the time, and it's just been great. So if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to raise your questions, give your feedback if you've got one and you have different views, or even if you have the same views. We'd love to hear about it. So do get, I always encourage people to go to the Refinement Not Retirement Facebook page, which is a good way to engage with us, either privately, which most people tend to want to do, or publicly. That either way is fine with us. It's great if you can share this episode, click like on the videos, or yeah, just sharing and getting the word out about our little podcast is always great, and it's always fun to engage with you. So do get in touch. Please listen to our previous episodes on all kinds of topics. And the most recent one I did with Christine was when we reviewed our first year of podcasting together and our first year of not having a job. So that was a big milestone for us, and we got great feedback on the discussion that we had about that. So do that. If there are any particular topics that you would like us to cover, or suggestions that you have about what we might talk about, then we would love to hear those. We'll be doing, when Christine's feeling better, we'll be back talking. I think one of the things we want to talk about next is replacing our Tesla to the new Model 3 Highland, and what we did with the two Teslas that we had before that experience, the decision we made. We're going to enjoy sharing those experiences with you. But for now, sadly, it's just goodbye from me. But Christine's looking forward to feeling well enough to come back on here to talk to you again. So goodbye for now. See you next time. Bye.